Last week, we talked at great length about Nami's character in the first half of Orange Town Arc. This time, I want to jump right into the second half to talk about a very interesting character, Buggy the Clown, as I think he's actually quite a fun antagonist to start out with One Piece. That being said, if you enjoy my One Piece videos where I read through the entire series, then consider becoming a patron, as you will get up to 3 weeks of videos in advance. Links will be in the description, so with that out of the way, let's pick up where we left off with the last chapter of One Piece. After Luffy shows what he's made of by disposing of the man and his cat, Boodle is inspired to go and confront Buggy, the goofy-ass clown. This shows that Luffy's actions have had a profound effect on Boodle and on other people, as when Boodle goes to confront Buggy, his crew shout down at him as if he's wasting his life for even attempting to confront the great Buggy. I mean, we've already seen some of the effects Luffy has had on the cast, like with Kobe getting up the courage to face Alvida. Ultimately, this is just another example of Luffy being a catalyst for change in this series. But keep this in mind, as I have a feeling this isn't the only time this is going to happen in this series. But what we know won't happen is Boodle getting his way, as Kabaji, a swordsman who stores his weapons in his throat? What? I'm not even going to ask. So, yeah, this guy Kabaji, well, as I just said, he seems to be quite into eating sharp metal objects, so yeah, this guy's a little crazy. But to add onto that, after he pulls the sword out of his mouth, this guy then gets on a unicycle? Though surprisingly, Buggy intervenes and confronts Boodle as he wishes, and wanting to know why he was confronted by Boodle. He is told that he is trying to protect his village, which he considers his treasure. This leads to Buggy's retort, where he doesn't quite understand what Boodle is getting at. As to him, treasure is something more materialistic. This shows the mindset of Buggy, as in his current state, he's all about what comes with power and things like that, you know, stuff like wealth, money, gold, jewels, things of that nature. In many ways, he's kind of a representation of greed in this arc, and a very effective one at that. So, Buggy goes to choke out Boodle and he nearly kills him, but Luffy arrives just in time to save him, with Zoro and Nami in tow. But Boodle still wants to fight Buggy, so Luffy is forced to knock out Boodle to the shock of Nami, who has to scold Luffy. Now the final battle of Orange Town is on, and boy, is this really great, so let's go ahead and just jump right in. Buggy starts off firing his cannon at Luffy, though he tanks it by channeling his inner Kirby and using Gomu Gomu Balloon to fire his own cannonball right back at him. And Nami is in shambles. I love the look on her face. Though Buggy used his own crew members as a shield, showing his true colors once again. Same for Kabaji, who used Richie as a shield and then immediately goes after Luffy, but is stopped by Zoro, which begins the fight between those two as Kabaji starts to use a fire breathing technique, which is really cool. This was just so neat, as Buggy's entire crew is in some way just a gigantic circus act, and Kabaji continues that trend by breathing fire and swallowing swords. How can you make any of this up? I mean, obviously somebody made all this up, but you get my point, right? This is great. Though I must admit, the fight between these two, yeah, no, it is awesome. Kabaji has the upper hand in this fight, kicking Zoro in his wounded stomach. Then, to finish Zoro off, he goes in for the final blow. But Zoro recovers quickly and dodges the blow entirely. The reality for Kabaji is that Zoro he's just on another level of swordsman. And so attacks like that are pretty simple to deal with. His fate as a swordsman isn't to die fighting Kabaji of all people, just at the start of his journey with Luffy no less. That is such an epic line by Zoro, but also a great moment in its own right. It shows the resolve of his character and the sheer amount of confidence he has to know he's better at Kabaji in pretty much every way, except for maybe the unicycle thing. While the fight started, and maybe also, actually now that I think about it, the sword swallowing thing. Anyways, while the fight started in Kabaji's favor, Zoro simply, by blocking a move, created a massive sea change in the fight, and to top it off, gave us great insight into his character. This was just really good stuff. While this is happening, Nami basically tells Luffy straight up she's going to steal the treasure and leave, and if they do survive and get the maps to the Grand Line, they'll team up again sometime in the future. Luffy, without a care, just sorta is okay with it. This is just a random moment that made me laugh, so I wanted to mention it, but it is funny to see how Luffy just does not seem to care sometimes when Nami does something. I think any other character would also probably be mad if Nami pulled this, but on Luffy, well, he just doesn't care. And Nami knows Luffy well enough at this point that she's just up front with him without a care in the world. That, my friends, is trust. But also, good, subtle comedy. What isn't subtle is the fight between Zoro and Kabaji as it continues on, with Kabaji using, once again, just really rather cool techniques, sending a plethora of spitting tops at Zoro, and while that happens, using a running wall technique straight out of Titanfall while Zoro is distracted. From there, he is able to launch himself in the air in one of the coolest moments and drops down with a direct stab against Zoro. Then, out of nowhere, Buggy makes a go at Zoro until Luffy stops him from grabbing onto him and trapping him. This shows off their teamwork in battle to not just sit by and watch the other suffer. Also, I think it's pretty cool as I'm starting to notice how tight Luffy and Zoro are. Bad phrasing, holy crap. I'm gonna keep it. This in turn is able to help Zoro dodge Kabaji's attack, which prompts him to taunt Kabaji about his low skill, and once and for all, puts an end to this clown. Man, such a cool fight from beginning to end. I love the tides in this battle and how Zoro was just able to basically whip this guy into shape with such ease. Though, speaking of clowns, after Zoro decides to, sleep, Luffy and Buggy pick up where they left off. Right before they're about to start their fight, Buggy says that Luffy reminds him of none other than Shanks. Shocked, Luffy wants to know why Buggy is bringing up the name of his vanished sensei. Regardless, Buggy is playing hard to get, and he opts to remain coy and fight Luffy. Buggy uses a lot, once again, of just really cool techniques like Bara Bara emergency escape, allowing him to simply pop his head off, which totally isn't creepy at all, but the creepy doesn't stop there, as Buggy uses Bara Bara cannon to launch his arm at Luffy that is like an eerie combination of Android 16's rocket punch, but also the sword technique from Kirei Kotomine or CL from Fate and Tsukihime. You're welcome, editor. Really inventive stuff here, and also clean art. Speaking of clean, Luffy is able to catch his fist mid-air, blocking Bara Bara cannon, though Buggy is able to separate his hand from his arm in a surprising move and actually damages Luffy's Mugiwara. This makes Luffy angry as his hat is his one and only treasure he cares about. On the sidelines, as Nami observes these sequences, she notices how differently Luffy reacted to his hat than in any other situation. She thought he was a carefree guy, but what she perceived as Luffy's indifference wasn't really the full story, and much like a Fallout NPC, she'll remember that. Though the Mugiwara, like Megaton, is not sparred as Buggy's Bara Bara cannon stabs through the hat, causing Luffy to react as if a loved one has died. This reaction in of itself shows how important that hat is to him. The way I see it is that it's a symbol of his dream and all he stands for, and as well for how much Shanks means to him. If you're confused, think of it this way. The hat is a monument to Luffy's soul. Without the hat, without what it means, Luffy really is not Luffy. He's an entirely different person. He's someone else entirely. So, seeing the hat being stabbed isn't a small moment, it's actually really a huge moment, because it's a reminder that this fight and the ones which may come after are always going to be the hardest because everything is on the line. This isn't a game. But we do learn shortly after what Buggy's relations to Shank is. And let me tell you, viewer, this is going to be a thing, so strap in. At one point, the two work together as trainees on a pirate ship. Hearing that from Buggy sends Luffy into a rage as he punches him in the gut and tells him to never repeat the words that they were once comrades. But it's Buggy who then reveals that it was Shanks who stole a treasure from him, causing bad blood between the two. But it seems that the story is a little more detailed and complicated. Back then, Shanks and Buggy would always butt heads, disagreeing on most everything, even on the most simple of things, and innocent things even. So much so that other crew members really just treated them as they're bickering as if two children were fighting over a toy. They also disagreed about what made a pirate, as Buggy thinks being a pirate is simply about taking over vessels and looting them. Well, though honestly, he's not wrong on that. But on the ship, Buggy found a treasure map marking a massive treasure on the seabed, so they celebrate the night away. This leads to a moment between the two rivals, where Shanks explains that as a pirate, he wants to simply go around and explore, see the world and all of its sights and oddities. Buggy, on the other hand, he kind of believes that he's simply not cut out and is kind of a weird dude where pirates are pretty much only known for stealing riches, and he's about traveling and wholesome living. It's pretty strange if you think about it. Which brings us to a rather curious situation. Shanks found a treasure, and not just any treasure, a devil's fruit. And not only that, but it's worth 100 million belly. So what Buggy decides to do is he eats a replicant of the fruit he spent the previous night making so that he can have both the treasure and the devil fruit to sell. But later on, as Buggy is scheming with the map and the devil's fruit, Shanks interrupts him. This rather humorously causes him to swallow the devil fruit, drop the map into the sea, and himself. So Shanks dives in to save the man overboard. And this is the reason Buggy blames Shanks for his really own downfall. The reality here is that Buggy is very delusional and got so greedy and prideful over himself that he can't see really whose fault is all of this. He went behind the back of Shanks to steal the devil's fruit from him so that he could double down on that and his own treasure, likely just cashing in and abandoning Shanks and his comrades, and well, guess what? It backfired. There is no man to blame but Buggy himself. Hell, Shanks even saved his life, and he doesn't seem to care. He can only see all the treasure he lost, and not the real treasure. It's gonna sound cheesy, but him! The man is alive because of Shanks, and that should be enough to take a step back and realize the error of his ways. But not for Buggy, as he lives up to the moniker of clown. Because to him, whoever touches his treasure will never be left alive, as he sets his sights on my wife, Nami! Though Luffy sees an opening, and oh my! Does he? Because to stop Buggy from lunging at Nami, he, well, kicks him square in the USB dongle, the daddy sack, the biznads, the boys, the chicken tenders, the giblies, the nads, the stones, the fun bags, these nuts. Luffy disables his ability to attack like he disabled his ability to have children. Though just as important, Nami is now stuck with a dilemma that is kind of much like Buggy's. Nami realizes that Luffy just saved her, and so Luffy tells her to go put the treasure down so she doesn't get hurt. But much like Buggy, she refuses to put the treasure down because the treasure is hers, at least that's what she believes. So Buggy separates himself into parts to attack Nami again, while Luffy tickles and smashes Buggy's foot in one of the greatest images I've ever seen, as Buggy, laughing hysterically, chases after a crying Nami. This gives Nami the opening to swing the bag of treasure at Buggy, though he catches it, much to Nami's shock. Luffy, with his saving blow, kicks Buggy, knocking him out and saving Nami once more. And as Buggy tries to get up, Nami ties together his body parts and Luffy knocks him out once again. Finally, ending Buggy once and for all. As they celebrate their victory, and Nami, her bag of treasure, she is strangely hugging in a most anomalous way, we are able to catch up, though the townspeople quickly chase them off as, let's be real, who wouldn't be mad at the destruction Buggy caused and blame it on Luffy and his gang? I'm not gonna lie, it makes a little bit of sense, but surprisingly, as they make their escape, Shushu blocks them from chasing after them. No doubt it's because of what Luffy did to help Shushu and Boodle. As they arrive in the harbor, there is still a little bit of trouble. In fact, it's Nami's trouble. The very pirates she duped in her introduction to One Piece are back, and they're mad. Though Zoro scares them off with a mean and threatening look, which I must admit I would jump in this sea and swim far, far away from Zoro if he gave me that look. And I know you Degens out there, I know what you would say. I see you, you want to be stared at that like Zoro, I bet. But as Boodle comes to, he is asked about what happened and notices how they're talking about Luffy, Zoro, and Nami as if they're bad people. Boodle, in a, I'm gonna be really honest, underrated moment, stands up for them. And it's honestly just really touching to see. So Boodle runs to the harbor as they leave to tell them a lot. He just wants to tell them so much, but only gets out that he's sorry and that he owes them one because he wants them to live happily. Man, that is such a perfect way to end this arc, like honestly. And that ends my first time reading One Piece. While it took 3 massive videos covering the first 21 chapters of One Piece, I adored every second of this series, and I've decided to actually continue reading it and producing videos on it. Obviously, you can see my video on Syrup Village arc and the introduction of Usopp on Patreon right now, but just speaking about Romance Dawn and Orange Town arcs, this was just so much fun. The colors are as bright as the characters, the art is as clean as the writing. It's just fun. And for the longest time, I think I was a little intimidated by reading a series this massive. But I think now I probably would have it no other way because I'm actually strangely excited for a series I thought a month ago would be deleterious. But it's just not. So subscribe and ring the bell, and consider becoming a Patreon member because you don't want to miss these videos as we get further into the series. Thank you all for watching so much, and I can't wait to see you again next time on the adventures of One Piece.